and small business owners like you guys for like 22 years to become self-sustaining, successful contributors to your communities. And they've hosted the Women's Business Center for 15, so woo! They offer workshops, entrepreneurial training courses in English and Spanish, and business consulting for women, low-income, minority, veterans, small businesses, small or nonprofit businesses, in San Luis Obispo, Kern, and Monterey County, so a great region. Bank of America is also proud to sponsor MSCS in these webinars. We're also dedicated to the region and to helping creating the conditions for fair and equal access to economic opportunity. So thank you, and we're very proud to sponsor these webinars.
Thank you so much, Margaret. And we have another webinar on the 15th that you're actually sponsoring as well about vision boards. So we'll be talking about that a little later. So thank you. Mm-hmm. So MCSC is a nonprofit business center, as Margaret mentioned, serving SLO, Kern, and Monterey counties. We offer small business, no-cost, one-on-one consulting with professionals in finance, marketing, social e-commerce, and management. Really any topic you need help with, we have a professional who can help you. So I would like to thank Nicole Martin for presenting today. Nicole owns Nicole Marie Creative Studios. She started as a client with MCSC and is one of our success stories. She enrolled in our entrepreneurial training class called Explore Design Launch, or Empezando in Spanish, in 2016, and she launched her business shortly thereafter. Not only is she an entrepreneur, she's also a consultant. So if you'd like to consult with her, please give us a call. We're thrilled she's here. She has a lot packed in for you today. So some of you, I expect a lot of you are beginners, if not all of you. And she is available for consulting after the fact. So if you miss some items, don't worry about it. Nicole is here to help you. So I just wanted to remind everyone to limit your distractions and mute your phone. We'll be taking questions through the chat box. And this webinar is being recorded. A link will be provided to you once the recording is processed. So let me see if the poll is going to work. Poll is not working either. So it's 100% on Zoom today. So I'm just going to go ahead and hand it over to Nicole. Thank you, Nicole.
Let's see if I can share my screen and we can get going. Let's see. Can we see that? We're good? Perfect.
Yes.
All right. So hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I am Nicole, like she said, of Nicole Marie Creative Studio. I am a website designer and creative at your service. Designing a beautiful future for you and your business is my mission. Equipped with a trifecta of skills, I've got branding strategy, website design, and graphic design. And all of those are topics and areas that I can help you here through the Women's Business Center as a consultant, as well through my creative studio. So today's webinar, we have only 1 hour and a lot to cover. So I want to get right into it. There's a few slides that I want to go over today before we hop into Squarespace itself and review some of the following things. So we're going to review research and functionality. Before you even begin building, I want to make sure that Squarespace is the right platform for you and your needs. So we'll briefly just uncover what Squarespace is good for and who it's good for. I also want to cover gathering the goods, what you should have ready and organized before you even start building, as well as discuss a bit about the inspiration and wireframing step of the process. And then we're going to hop over to Squarespace and build a demo site today. And along the way, I'll be sharing some design tips and tricks. So like I said, that's a lot to cover, and I want to spend as much of that time in Squarespace as we can. So bear with me. To start off, I do want to break down the platform. I do not work for Squarespace. They don't pay me to say any of this, but I have been working in the platform for over 4 years over its various different versions, so 7.0 and 7.1. We will be discussing 7.1 only today, their latest platform. And so I have a fairly good understanding of the platform, and I think it's a great fit for most business owners. So I want to break down why I think it's a great fit and go over some of the things that might be good for you as well. So let's break it down. Squarespace was designed for the do-it-yourself user in mind, making it easy to maintain, update, and monitor your website on your own. So building pages is a matter of dragging and dropping blocks into a page editor, and your back-end tasks are a snap because you have your clearly labeled menus and panels. It also gives you peace of mind. It is a self-contained platform that is fully managed from top to bottom. There's never any need to update software plugins, widgets, or anything like that. And you don't really need to worry about any components breaking. It also means that you rarely have to investigate or pay for any third-party apps and plugins because everything is contained within the platform itself. It also gives you room to grow. Squarespace scales. Squarespace was designed for everyone from bloggers to online retailers. So it's really robust and flexible and good for anybody who needs that room to grow with their business. While Squarespace is robust and powerful, there are times that it isn't the best fit. So that's the whole research part of this, and the functionality portion is making sure it's the right fit for your business. So is there anything Squarespace can't do? And the answer is yes. It currently does not support recurring payments, membership walls, paywalls, and restricted content areas. However, they do support customer accounts for e-commerce sites, as well as they are in the beta version of a membership little paywall platform. So that's coming down the pipeline. But it also doesn't support anything that would necessitate integrating with a third-party API. It does not offer inventory management software or point-of-sale systems. So if you are a retail shop and you have an online space but also want to be able to use and link that inventory management to your physical location, that's currently not offered through Squarespace and might not be the right fit for you if you do retail. And it also does not offer the option to duplicate entire sites. Other than that, it has basically everything. So I do want to make sure that you do your research before you start building in Squarespace and make sure that it's the right platform for you. Like I said at the beginning, most small businesses, this is a great platform for almost everyone. And I recommend it to almost every single one of my clients for that reason. But do make sure that it has all the functionality that you are going to need before you begin building. Another thing that I wanted to cover before we get into Squarespace is what you need to gather and organize before you begin. Regardless of the platform that you're using, there are basic elements that you'll need to think through and gather. And I've laid some of those out here. So first of all is your website copy. This is going to be the messaging on your website. I'm a firm believer that copy dictates design and not the other way around. So yes, even as a website designer, I'm telling you that your words are important and they matter just as much as the design of your website. They go hand in hand, and so you should be strategically thinking through what words you want to have on your website. And so I suggest that you consider gathering all of your website copy before you even begin the design process. Thinking through your pages and your navigation and what you want to be said on your site so that you can thoughtfully design your site around that and guide your visitors to your call to action, your purpose, your main destination. Writing words is really hard, at least for me, especially as a designer. That is not where my brain goes. And I assume it's probably going to be difficult for some of you as well. Even if you are a fantastic writer, writing website copy is difficult. So I do suggest consider working with a skilled copywriter. I have several great recommendations if you're looking for them. But I do realize that this is an added expense and another step in all of this that maybe you might not be ready for. And if that's the case, there are plenty of people on the internet and resources on the internet to help you DIY your own website copy. And I'm happy to share some of those people that I've found useful, that I've found on my online research. I'm happy to share those in the chat with you guys afterwards as well. But I really wanted to focus on the importance of website copy and gathering that before you begin.
Nicole?
Yes.
I just wanted to let you know that we have several consultants who are professionals in that area.
Yeah, we also, exactly. Thank you, Barbara.
You're welcome.
So that is a great, the Women's Business Center is another resource there as well. So if you have questions for me about the website design process after all of this, I'm available, and I would also say talk to any of the copywriters that we have beforehand as well. The next thing I would encourage you to gather is your branding assets. So you should be very clear on your branding before you begin your website design. That means you should understand your target market and your ideal client, who they are and what they need and what they want and how you serve them. These are like marketing and branding basics. And from here, you should have your logo, your imagery, your colors, all of that ready to go. My little tip is to gather all of that in a drive somewhere, whether that's on your computer and you have a folder with all of your branding stuff, or on a Google Drive. I gather all of mine together in one Google Drive, and I'm actually going to show you what that looks like here in a minute, because we are going to be building a demo site together. So I've put together fake copy, a fake brand, and we're going to build a site together. So I would suggest that you gather all of that before you get going. And then I did want to mention, as far as imagery goes, because I do think that's a big component of website design, is the images that are on your website as well. So I would also suggest thinking about hiring a professional photographer to take professional photos for your website, if that is appropriate for your business. If not, investing in good stock photo. Another perk of working with the Squarespace platform is it is connected to a stock photo library called Unsplash. So once you're clear on kind of what images you want to be put up there, but maybe you don't have a professional photographer, but you know you want a certain style of image on your site, you can browse that stock library directly on Squarespace and pull those into your site. So I'll show you that feature as well. And then finally, I want to talk about inspiration. Before you begin building your site, I would suggest looking around the internet to find sites that inspire you. I usually say pick 3 sites and kind of pay attention and take notes of the things that you like and then you dislike, design-wise and functionality-wise. And then use that to kind of build a wireframe, which is what we're going to do next, a little blueprint for how you want your own site to flow and to be structured. So I think the inspiration part is an important part of the design process as well. So today, though, we are going to, like I said, create a demo site. And the first part of that is creating a wireframe. And a wireframe is just a fancy industry term for a visual guide that represents the skeletal framework of a website. Wireframes serve multiple purposes by helping to connect the site's information architecture to its visual design by showing paths between pages. It also helps to clarify consistent ways for displaying particular types of information on the interface. It also helps you determine intended functionality, as well as get clear on site goals and page goals. And it also helps you lay out and use design and copy to help guide your visitors. So this is where I go back to that inspiration part, where if you pick those 3 websites and you start kind of figuring out what you like, what you dislike, and what you want to incorporate onto your own site, you can start building out this wireframe for your site. It may feel like an unnecessary step to draw it all out page by page, but once you get into the platform itself to start building, this is going to make everything so much easier. So I went ahead and did this before the webinar, and I kind of looked through some inspiration sites of what would be good sites to kind of build together today. And I put together a little wireframe. This is kind of a more bare bones version of what it's going to be. This is it with the pictures. It doesn't have to be this fancy. I may have gone a bit overboard, but as a designer, that's my problem. And I put that in the Google Docs. So I've gathered all of this together today. I'm going to review it with you quickly, and then we're going to hop over into Squarespace and build this site together. So let's take a look at my Google Docs. So here is the wireframe that I've made today, and I wanted to quickly kind of go over that with you guys. So I broke it down by section. So Squarespace, especially Squarespace 7.1, which is what we'll be in today, uses sections. So you'll see that I've kind of laid out the different sections that I want to have on our homepage. I laid out a simple navigation. I think we're gonna put the logo over on the left, and then have an about, a services, a blog, and a contact page. So before I even get into Squarespace, I've already determined my pages and my site navigation. So I know that I'm going to need copy and images for at least these 5 pages: my home, my about, my services, my blog, and my contact. Then the next thing that I'm focusing on is this hero section. That's going to be this first section that visitors will land on when they visit your site. And this is something that you should use this section to clearly state the purpose of the site. So this is where that copy comes in handy. You want to be able to communicate who you are and what you do and who you do it for immediately upon them landing on your site. And then usually you follow up with a call to action. So that's how we're going to kind of set up our first section. The next section is the next important thing that you want them to see. So I've decided I'm a service-based business for today, and I want to break down my 2 services, my 2 main services. So I'm going to use this section, and I'm going to build it out with 2 images, a little headline, and then a little bit of text. Here we go. Then again, as a service-based business, I want my people to come to my site and understand who they're going to be working with. So I put a little about section here on the home page where I'm going to have a quick bio. So if this is relevant for your business, this is something that's usually on most home pages as well. And in this copy, I'm going to put what makes me uniquely able to serve my clients. You want to make sure that this section is focused on the client. So all of the copy, especially on your homepage and throughout your website, you want it to be client focused. So just a little reminder there. And then I decided I wanted to be able to showcase my most recent blog posts. You could also use this next section to showcase your best-selling products. You could use it for testimonials. You could have a little slider of testimonials, any social proof. Or break down your process or your pricing. I mean, you can choose what goes into each of these sections, but you see how you kind of build it together. And then I wanted to end the site with, or my homepage with, an email sign up. And then a site-wide footer with my contact information, any secondary navigation that I have, and copyright information. Like I said, I got carried away and I designed it a lot more in detail than you necessarily need to. Here's another version of what a wireframe could look like. It could be as simple as this, a quick little guideline for where you're going once you start building. The navigation, your hero section, identifying the problem and who it's for, your value prop, about, social proof. I mean, you can see it here. It doesn't have to be that fancy. But this is what we're going to build today. I also went ahead and did what exactly I already went over with you guys. I gathered branding stuff and some copy and got that all ready. So when we hop over into Squarespace, I have this all at my fingertips. So here's our color palette for the day. I've picked a light color, a dark color, and 3 accent colors. I've made a fake logo and everything and imagery. And then I've already decided on fonts that I want to use. So in Squarespace, you have 3 headings and 3 paragraphs, or excuse me, you actually have 4 headings and 3 paragraphs, fonts, and you can customize the fonts and the looks and the styles when you're in the platform. But to make it easier for me and my branding, I decided these are the fonts that I want to go with. I also threw some fake copy in here, and we're ready to roll. So I'm trying to be aware of the time. It's 10:22. I think that gives us plenty of time to build. But are there any questions before we get into Squarespace?
We're all good so far.
Fantastic. Again, I know I'm going really fast. I'm sorry.
I just got one.
Cool.
Did you use a Pantone palette?
I suggest using the hex code. So, I mean, if you have your color in Pantone, you should be able to find the hex code as well. But that hex code is these 6 numbers right here. When you go into Squarespace, I'll show you, you can use basically you can use HSL, RGB, or the hex code. But Squarespace doesn't use the Pantone code. So you'll need to convert that. Any other things in the chat?
She just asked another question. Did you use a website to find complementary colors?
I did. I actually use Pinterest for design inspiration all the time. So I went to Pinterest and I typed in color palettes. I might have used more specific, like moody color palettes or something. You can use descriptive words as well. And I just started looking through the color palettes to see what made sense for my fake brand. Again, that's a branding question and something that we can talk about, or you should have before you start the website design process, figuring out what colors are going to be best for your brand. But yeah, I used Pinterest for inspiration for this particular color palette. I picked a light color, a dark color, and 3 accent colors purposely because on Squarespace 7.1, they have a place for you to put your color palette in. And they have you put a light color, a dark color, and accent colors. And I'll show you how I kind of play around with those colors once we're in Squarespace as well. So I have them here ready, the codes to copy and paste. That's another reason why I suggest putting it together in a little drive or a doc beforehand, is now we don't have to run around and try and pick colors or remember where they were. I always have them here on my drive. So that kind of helps when you're doing the design portion.
Okay, that's it for now. Thank you.
Cool. So I've got a bunch of these images and my logos all saved onto the computer. I've got my wireframe ready. And now I know exactly where to go. So we go to squarespace.com. You're going to sign up for an account if you do not have one already, and click Get Started. So it's going to want us to tell them what our site's about. Describe your site. We're just going to say consulting, whatever. Let's go. Sell services. You can skip all this part. I'm going to skip all of this part. They just want to know what you're doing. But that part is not necessary to the design process or the building process. Once you click Get Started and you go through that, you're going to be here on the templates page. And again, I'll say we're doing Squarespace 7.1 today. So that's where you'll start seeing these templates. This is the latest version of Squarespace. In this version of Squarespace, all templates are created equal. So I can pick this online store one and create any of the other templates from there. This was not the case in the most previous version of Squarespace, and it was essential to pick the right template for the functionality that you wanted your site to have. But they've gotten rid of that, and now whatever one you pick, you can customize to look like any other one and have the same functionality. So they do have topics for you up here at the top. So if you are an online store or a blog or a portfolio, I do suggest reviewing those templates. But I've already built my wireframe. I already know what I want my site to look like. I'm not going to waste too much time going through the templates because you can waste a lot of time going through the templates. I'm just going to pick the one that looks most like the wireframe that I created, so that I don't have to change too much. I already know that I'm going to go with DeGraw, and it should be down here somewhere. but there's a few options that I could have gone with. So here's DeGraw. And you just start with DeGraw. You can preview any of the templates before you begin. And they have a bunch of examples of what it looks like. But again, for the sake of time today, we're going with DeGraw. Let's see, so welcome to your site title. So my fake brand is called Fake Brand. Gonna type that in and just go through these. This is it giving you a quick little tour, but I'm gonna do that right now. So with Squarespace, when you first sign up, you get a 2-week free trial. You can always extend it. They're pretty lenient about extending it after that, but you have 2 weeks to play around with the back end, add your content, and make sure it's the right fit for you. So I highly suggest getting comfortable with Squarespace in that 2-week period. Today, we're going to go through the pages and the design tab and start putting all of this into our demo site. If you have any questions and you get lost and you're confused and you need any help, I am always available after this workshop. We can always do a part 2, or you can always reach out to me one-on-one. So again, I'm going to try not to go too fast, but want to show you as much as I can. So bear with me. So when we're in here, these are your panels, and we're going to start by going into the Pages panel. Here's where everything lives. Your main navigation is going to be up here. These are all in the order that they show up here. So if I wanted to rearrange my pages, all I do is have to click and drag and drop to rearrange it on my main navigation. Then you also have your not linked pages. You'll see none of these pages are going to show up here, except for that, but we'll come back to that. So these are going to be like if you have an FAQ page, privacy policies, terms and conditions, anything that you want still linked on your site, but maybe not on your top navigation, they're going to live down here. And again, you can drag and drop it between main navigation and not linked. You'll see this icon next to the title of the page that's going to indicate what kind of page you're working with. This is a page, this is a blog. This little home represents your home page. To add any navigation to your site and any new pages, all you have to do is click that little plus sign and you've got all your different options. So you can also see I can add a store, a portfolio, an events showcase, folders, or links. So if I wanted my services to be a drop-down page and I could add a folder and then add pages underneath that folder to create the drop-down. That's not in our wireframe, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to click the little trash can. If you create pages and you don't want them, that's how you get rid of them. So that's how you quickly create a page, delete a page, and move them around. If I hover over this page, you'll also see this little icon, this little sun or setting cog, I don't know what it is. That's going to be all of your page settings. You're going to have a lot of really good settings in here that you're going to want to pay attention to. Your general settings, such as your page title, your navigation title, and your URL slug. You can also password protect, duplicate, or set as home page. You also have SEO settings over here, and then some advanced settings. So if I wanted to change this, like I don't like it, our services, I just want services. This is where you can update all of that fun stuff. Pretty easy. So that's one of your settings tabs where they live. So now I want to go back over to the site and start filling in some stuff. Squarespace 7.1, like I said, really focuses on these sections. And then within the section, you have blocks. So this is a text block, image blocks, button blocks, etc. So we're going to start, I'm going to first focus on putting all of the content and those building blocks section by section on the homepage today, based on the wireframe that we've created. And then I'm going to go in and do all of the site stuff. So you'll see this, the site styles. So you'll notice none of these colors and fonts are necessarily the ones that I want, but that's going to be the secondary thing that I come to. So I'm going to start by making sure the navigation is how I want it. So I want home, services, about, blog, which I wanted, and then contact. And I want this up here as well. So now I've got all my pages. I'm happy with that. We're going to start editing this, the page itself. You're going to click this little edit button in the upper left-hand corner, and it's going to take us into the editor. And you'll see here, this is one section, another section, and it's all laid out in sections. I can edit the settings of this section by this little pencil icon over here where it says edit section. This is going to control things like the height, the section height, section width, and the alignment. So you'll see if I play around with those, it's going to take this height and change that. The content width, that's any blocks that I place in here. So this is our text block. And it's now bigger and bigger still. So you have options on how to change things like that, the alignment. You also have tabs along the top up here, so you don't want to neglect those. This background tab is going to control the images on the background. So I can add an image, I can add a video, and I can control like the opacity if I put an image here. You may remember that I said that Squarespace is connected to a large free stock library called Unsplash. This sneaky little button here that says search images gives me access to that. So if I wanted to place an image back here, I can click that. I've got free, premium, and imported. This is anything that I would have put in place. So yeah, you can search like ocean, and it'll bring up a bunch of options there. So pretty cool that it's connected to Unsplash. I use that free stock library all the time. They've got great photos there. And then I also have access to this color tab. It's going to change the colors of everything. So these are the themes, and these are all in the design panel and the site styles. And this is what we're going to do after we start putting in our content. So in each section you have blocks. So this is a text block that already came with our demo. And if I start hovering around, I'm going to see these little droplets and these lines. And if I click that open, this is all of the content blocks that I have that I can start building with. So I can place text, I can place images, buttons, lines, spacers, images, layouts, summaries. This is going to be helpful when we go down to our blog summary, forms, newsletter, maps. You've got loads of great content blocks that you can play with, social links, menus. So those are going to be the building blocks. So you're going to do block by block, section by section, page by page. So I'm going to go into my little section here and just start copying and pasting. So my hero section, copy, paste. It's going to be as easy as that today. And that's why I put it all together. You'll see now, once I paste all of this, I've got even more options. So I've got header 1 through 4 and paragraph 1 through 3. All your regular text editing options. Let's do heading 1 and heading 2. Don't even need to hit boom. And then we'll go, like I said, afterwards and start changing the colors and the fonts and making it look more like the design that we want. But first, we're just going to put all of the content in together. So heading 1 and heading 2, paragraph styles. This is important, designed, because when we go to the site and we start seeing huge walls of text, I do want you to pay attention to your headers and how you lay that out. a big wall of text, our eyes kind of just gloss over. So you want to be using your heading 1 and your heading 2 with your paragraph styles to kind of help lead the eye along the page. So as this is our hero, this is what we want them to pay attention to first. I'm going to put heading 1 and heading 2 to keep the attention and the focus here. And we'll come back to this. We'll keep going section by section. So back to my little wireframe, I know that the second part was this little breakdown of my services. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have text, 2 image blocks, and then some more text. And that's what we're going to build in this section here. So I'm going to look for those little raindrops, and I'm going to place spacers. And why am I placing spacers? Because these are going to help keep those 2 columns that I'm looking for and keep my content in line. So you'll see I can pick those spacers up and move them around and adjust. And this is a lot easier to move these spacers around than big, huge images and big blocks of text. So it's an extra step, but an extra step that I find useful when trying to keep content in line. It's not necessary when it's just a text or just an image, but when you start using those different blocks, you might find it useful to have spacers kind of lead the way, especially because I can grab this text and put it under and look for that little line and put it under here. So that's how I'm going to set this up. I'm going to add an image block. Apply. We'll come back and add the images. I'm going to look for this line here again and place another image. Above here, I'm going to put text that says whatever you want this to say, but this will be breakdown of services. Hello. Center, heading 1 or heading 2. And then I can, once I've got this structure in place, I can delete those spacers. They don't really serve a purpose for me now that I've got the blocks in place. Sometimes they are useful to actually just add spacing, but in this case, I just wanted them there to help with the framework. And I'm gonna go still. I'm just using lorem ipsum to put in here, which is like fake text to use to help with the design. Obviously, you'll be pasting real text, but I'm just going to copy and paste, copy and paste. Easy peasy. You'll also see that I have button blocks. So if I wanted to link now to this service, come on now, to service 1 on another page, I can place a button. It wasn't in my wireframe, so I am probably not going to leave this here, but I might. I don't know. You've got options. You can click through to add the URL. If it's a web address to a different site off your web page, you can place that link here. Anytime you send visitors away from your website, you're going to want to open that in a new window or a new tab. So you're going to want to toggle this on. But if you're sending them somewhere else on your website, like to your service page, there's no need to have that open in a new window. So you can keep that off. And if that's the case, I can go into my page tab over here and I can just link it to my service page and click save. So pretty easy to add buttons, to add lines. We'll come back, like I said, and add images and change the colors and the text. I'm just going to go through and get that whole blueprint. So here on the template, this was a little banner section that they have an image, which looks lovely, but is not in my wireframe. I don't need this section here. So I also have the option to delete sections, and it's going to delete everything in this little blue section here. And I can remove it just like that. Once it's gone though, your section's gone. So be sure you know you're paying attention to what you're deleting over here. You can delete pages, and those go into a little trash can, and you can recover pages, but you can't recover sections. So be careful with this button over here. You can move sections up and down in the order if I wanted to move that up. So you can play around with the flow after you've got some of your sections together. You can also use this button to duplicate. If you wanted to make a section very similar to this, but just change a few things, you can duplicate that so you don't have to rebuild everything, which is a handy feature. So next, let's refer to the wireframe again. I think I've got an about section next. Yeah. So I'm going to delete this section because it's not exactly what I want, but this section I can work with the demo content and change it up to look a little bit more like what my wireframe looks like. So here they've placed an image with some text, and they put it in this little card format. If I click this edit button up here, this is where I can change the image. And in this little design tab, I can change how this text appears along with the image. So you've got inline, poster, card, overlap, collage, and stack. It's got a lot of great design options. But this looks pretty similar to my wireframe. So I'm gonna stick with this. And click apply. Go back and get my copy, my super important fake text for my super important fake brand, and I'm going to paste it here. So pretty easy. This is only one way to display this information, your about text over here with your image in a card like this. I could also place a text box and an image box and get that same effect. So there's always a few ways that you can build and design your content. This is just the easy way here. And then it's going to go into my footer. So I'm not ready to do my footer yet. I want to add a few more sections. So this cute little plus sign is how I'm going to add sections. And it's going to pop up with this little box that's going to give me a bunch of pre-designed options, which is awesome, especially if you're not a designer and you want help kind of figuring out how to lay it all out. You can always add a blank section, which is usually what I use, considering I know what I'm trying to build. But you have some great options over here as well. So be sure to look through some of those and see if they're relevant to your business, your wireframe. So this section, I'm going to do a blog carousel. So I'm going to add a blank section. Nothing fancy here, just an actual blank section, and start adding my stuff. So I'm going to want to add a summary block. Summary blocks are super cool in Squarespace because they will pull information from other pages, specifically blog pages, portfolios, or event pages, and display it here in this section. So I'm going to do a summary carousel, and you'll see it's already pulling in like fake blog information. Once I have a blog, an event page, or a portfolio page, I will be able to select that content here and edit the layout on how it displays. So you've got loads of really cool options. I like this vertical one. Again, I don't have my blog stuff set up, so you can't see how it's pulling all of those things in, but this would be individual blog posts that it would pull here onto my homepage, which I find super convenient and helpful. And you can change a bunch of the design aspects on these tabs: content, layout, and display. Like I can change if I want extra text, just images, a read more link, that kind of stuff. So you got loads of block options. For now, that's pretty close to the wireframe. And then the next section that we had was a newsletter block, which I'm sure is going to be helpful for a lot of you, collecting email addresses and start building that side of your business as well. This is when those pre-made sections over here really come in handy. I've got a newsletter block right here, and I'm going to see what kind of designs they have. I liked the image and the text, so I'm going to go with that one. You'll see once I open this little edit button over the newsletter block, I've got options to change this copy here, and all of these information. And do not forget to look for these little menus above all of this editing sections. Storage, super important. This is where all of those email addresses are going to go. So you're going to want to make sure you connect some sort of platform to collect those email addresses. Squarespace has its own email campaign arm that you can connect to that. You can also connect other services like MailChimp, Zapier, Google Drive. So if you're not really set up with another platform like MailChimp, you're not really ready to do email campaigns just yet, but you want to be collecting email addresses, go ahead and connect it to your Google Drive, and then it'll put it in an Excel document within your Google Drive anytime somebody adds their name to your list. So when you are ready to connect a third-party email marketing campaign software, you'll have that email address list. Pretty easy. So again, all of your pages are made up of sections, and in those sections you have blocks. You have so many options for content block-wise. It can sometimes be overwhelming. It's awesome, and you might discover blocks that you didn't even know you could add that you might want to add as you're going. Fantastic. But this is why I really suggest doing the wireframe, because sometimes you can get into Squarespace and be so overwhelmed you forget what you're building, you forget what you're doing, and the whole purpose of your website. So I already had that clear before I got started what the purpose of my site was. I wanted to showcase my services at the top. I wanted to make sure I had a blog section to showcase valuable content that I want to have readily available for my visitors. And I want them to just give me their email addresses. So that's all on my homepage. And I didn't get distracted by some of the other blocks and the other sections that you can have. So, wow, it's already 10:50. Okay, so that's how you add blocks. Before I get too far gone, I do want to show you quickly the site styles and the design tab, and then I'm going to try and take some questions. I know we're running out of time. But I don't want to miss the design tab. So this is your design panel. And in here, these are all of your design settings that you can play with. In the version 7.1, it's broken down by fonts, colors, animations, spacings, and buttons are going to be your big main settings. And in here is where it changes colors and fonts and all of the design aspects globally, site-wide. So if I change anything in this site styles, it's not going to just change it here, it's going to change it everywhere on my site. All my heading ones are going to change. All my buttons are going to change. So be aware of that. But this is something that you're going to probably fiddle with as you continue building, because each of the sections have their own themes and colors. And so this is where you're going to want to start playing with that color palette. They have designer palettes already set up, but you also have the option of doing custom colors. And here's where you'll see those 5 colors: white, black, accent, light, and dark. So I usually put this one as my light color, my dark color, and then my 3 accents. And you'll see how they start changing things on your website. You can already see anything that's this color on the site, whatever I change this color to is going to change these colors as well. So quickly, I want to show you, go away menu, how easy it is to change the colors with those hex codes if you have them. So all you do is have to copy that 6-letter code. You'll see it's currently pulling HSL colors, but all I do is have to paste that code and it's still going to catch it. So you can type in this section, obviously you can still move around. It's going to revert back to HSL, but it will always accept those hex codes. And I can change the colors just as easy as that. Then if I want to change, it's showing me up here these sections. So if I wanted to change something in this section to change the color, I would edit the section theme called white minimal and start changing things. So this is where I have the color of my button that I can change, but you'll see it only changes it here in the white minimal section. So that's why this part is important to the design part, your site styles, but is also something that you're probably going to fiddle with a lot. I set mine site styles. I kind of had an idea of what color I wanted my buttons and my background sections before I got started. So it'll be a lot easier for me to edit these sections as I'm going. But it's still something that you'll kind of fiddle with as you keep building. Fonts as well. You've got all of your headers here, paragraphs, buttons, miscellaneous. When I'm in my site style editor, when I'm in this design panel, I can hover over things on my page and I'll get these blue little boxes. And if I click anywhere in that blue little box, it will navigate me to the settings that will edit that. So I know that I can now be changing my headings. This will also take me to headings. This takes me to my paragraphs. So that's an easy way to kind of isolate the item that you want to change the site style of. But again, if I click here and I change the font of the heading, it's going to change all the headings site-wide. There's a huge library of fonts in here for you to choose from. So hopefully you already have fonts that you've picked out that go along with your branding, and you can make sure that they are supported in Squarespace as well. Or you can find something similar, another serif or sans serif font, and save your changes. So that's the breakdown of home pages, sections, blocks, and your site styles. It was pretty ambitious to build a whole home page together in just 1 hour, but I'm hoping that you see how easy it is once you have an idea of your wireframe, you have some of your items already gathered and organized, which would be my homework for you, and my encouragement to you is to gather those things and then start building, especially because from there you can ask more pointed questions. So, you know, if you have a question for me, I am available. If you start getting into the building process and you're like, where did she say that one thing was? Or is it possible to do this? We at least know where we're going, and I can help guide you from there. With 5 minutes left, I'll definitely take questions now if you have any. If not, again, you can totally reach me via my email, through the Women's Business Center, and I'm happy to walk you through Squarespace in a consulting session or a part 2 of something like this. Just let us know if it's something you're interested in. So Barbara, do you have questions?
Yes, thank you, Nicole. And we do have lots of people that can help you if you don't even know how to set up your framework or you need ideas with creativity. Nicole can help you. We have other consultants. It's all at no cost, so we encourage you to get going. This isn't a 1 hour thing. This takes a lot of thought and time, so we're happy to assist you in that. So we do have a couple questions. Cool. In the beginning, you were talking about choosing different designs. So if you switch designs, you're going to lose everything you created in your other design?
Nope. But that's no longer really an issue. When you pick the templates in Squarespace, it's just a starting point. In version 7.1, they don't really pay attention to templates. You can't go and change your template. You just create it from here. So it used to be in 7.0 or 7.0, the previous version, that whatever template you picked, you only had certain functionality with that template. And if you say you needed a portfolio component to your website, you would have to completely change your template, and that caused a bunch of problems. Now every single template, it's just a starting point. With demo stuff, a demo template, you can get anything on your site at any point. So, and it won't change anything. So it would be more of a question of what do you want on your site? What are you missing from this current demo structure that you need to add? And it would probably just be adding a section with that stuff. I'm not sure if that really, I don't know how helpful that is. If that makes sense. The templates are no longer, it's really just a starting point. It's not a thing that you can change.
Yeah,
they all
are
one and the same.
How much does it cost to create a website?
Cool. Yeah. So the 2-week trial is free. After that, they do have pricing plans. You've got a basic plan, a business plan, and an e-commerce plan. I can pull those up for you. Let's see. We'll just go to pricing. I think most of you would need a business plan. You can get away with a personal plan for a while. And I think that's like $12 a month or something like that. Yeah, personal is $12 a month. Business is $18, commerce $26, advanced is $40. For a business, you're going to probably want the business plan because you get a lot of the extra features. But personal is still a great option. I always say start with the cheapest plan that you need. Start with personal, and then if you start using functionality on the site that requires a business plan, and it'll tell you if it requires a business plan, then upgrade then. But there's no need to be paying for a business plan until you're using some of those features. A lot of those features are like custom coding, scheduling, a lot of the e-commerce stuff, you need that business plan for. But that's kind of a quick breakdown of pricing.
Okay, thank you. And then we have a time for one 30-second question. How can you increase your chances that potential customers are finding your site, e.g. using Google? I realize this is a big question, but if you could address it briefly.
It's a huge question, and that really comes down to your SEO. And that's a great thing that you're going to want to research when you're looking into a platform and getting started with your website, is how the SEO functions on that platform. Squarespace is known for having great SEO functionality. And I showed you when we were going over the pages, some of the places to implement that. They've also got great help guides on how to show you where to put certain things and how to edit them, so you're not usually stuck guessing. So like if I hover over my service page and I go into these settings, I've got a whole SEO tab here. And I can click this learn more, and it's going to explain a whole guide on best practices for SEO. But it gives me the option to place an SEO title and an SEO description. Anytime I place a image, I have the option of adding alt text. So Squarespace really does make it easy. You do have to kind of know where those buttons are, like that one hidden in the page settings, or where the alt text are. But Squarespace has great guides on that, and they really handle SEO extremely well. So yeah, it's obviously a huge topic, but Squarespace is the right place for getting found online.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for your presentation, Nicole. Excellent job, great for beginners. I wanted to let you guys know that if you want to continue your learning, we're offering Imagine a Prosperous 2021 Create Your Vision Board for Success on the 15th from 3 to 5 in the afternoon. That is interactive, where you will leave with a vision board, hopefully. I would also like to thank Bank of America again for sponsoring today's workshop. If you'd like to register, just visit our website. We encourage you to contact us for any consulting or for any questions that you may have. Have a great day, everyone, and have a great holiday season. Thank you for coming.